Before we dive into the blood-soaked madness of this 88 film slasher classic collection review, a quick heads up for listeners and viewers alike. These episodes come straight from the podcast Under the Stairs archives, recorded before the launch of the YouTube channel and long before video podcasts became part of the show. These reviews were originally crafted purely for audio. So if the production feels a little rougher around the edges or a little more stripped back than current episodes, that's because you're hearing the show in its earlier form, raw, passionate, and let's be honest, a little waffly at times. Whether you're revisiting these reviews or discovering them for the first time, please sit back and relax and enjoy this trip through the golden age of mass killers, inventive gore, and VH era nightmares. This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. Hi everyone and welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. This is your Sunday 88 film series of reviews. That's right, we're doing more slasher classics this time. We alternate. Every second week we do a slasher classic, and the week in between we take a look at them 88 films Italian collection series movies as well. And we are trundling through them at a pace this year. This is disc number 10 of the Slasher Classics collection already, which means that today we will be looking at the Boogey Man, a rather infamous video nasty, one that I have not seen in many years since doing The Nasty, the podcast based on video nasties that I ran with my good buddy Andy Blockley, which came to conclusion, I want to say about 3 years ago, so that's how long ago it is since we ran through the nasties, and Boogey Man definitely is one of them, as is the sequel, The Revenge of the Boogey Man, or Return of the Boogey Man, or Boogey Man 2, or something. I can't remember. All I know is it used a good, 40 minutes of this movie back in it, which kind of feels a bit cheap. I'm just saying it feels a bit cheap. But that's a movie we're going to be discussing after the first break. Now, this is your final episode of this week. It has been a 3-episode week, and can I just say thank you very much to everyone for the amazing feedback from Thursday's episode. So Thursday I decided to try something a little bit different. I put in mixtape episodes of just some of my favourite scores that appear in horror movies. At the end of that I said, you know what, this was kind of fun, maybe we'll do it again sometime. And the kind of universal outpouring of positive praise towards the episode has given me a bit of excitement to do something later in the year when we'll bring you volume 2. So thank you very much, and I really do mean that from the bottom of my heart. You guys have been incredible with that episode, an episode which quite a bit of thought went into, but the creation of it was very much on the cuff and on the fly. And yeah, the fact that you guys dug it has made me very, very happy indeed. So yeah, volume 2 later on this year. There's a ton of other things been happening under the stairs. If you've been keeping abreast of the situation through the Facebook group page, facebook.com/groups/teapotscast, you will know that over there we did a poll for our first Russian Roulette franchise retrospective non-genre series, which Mad Max won. So we've done a live drawing of the 4 podcast hosts that will join us for that. And I'm looking forward to that one. That is going to be a ton of fun, and that'll be coming up in the next 2 weeks or so. You get 2 episodes, first 2 Mad Max movies on the first episode, and the remaining 2 episodes on the second. Also in the background, we are basically now putting together the list of guest hosts and all the various other bits and bobs for the Teapots Summer Top 10 series this year, looking at the 90s as a decade. It's going to be bigger than it's ever been before. There's going to be more people involved. There is going to be a ton of stuff which is going to make it incredibly fun, and at the same time it's going to make it incredibly complicated, which is how I like to roll. Complicated and fun. in equal measure. So yeah, more details about that will be coming out over the next couple of weeks, and we will make sure that there is a proper launch, probably about a month before the first episode drops. We'll do some sort of content on the podcast just to explain what the movies will be, because we should have a movie list by then for all the decades and give you a month head start running into it. But not only will we explain what the movies will be, but the rules of this year's one and how you can take part. I always enjoy when people start watching the movies themselves, or at the end of each episode put forward what they would have put forward, or is there any movies that didn't make that top 10 list that you think were worth conversation. So yeah, that will be its own episode somewhere out there in the next month, because we are not that far away from the Summer Teapots Top 10 series kicking off. So yeah, also in the background we are putting together a little round table, a little director's round table, this time once again kind of moving away from genre, but two guys that have ultimately always had their foot in the genre. But myself, the great and fantastic Doug Tilley, and the fantabulous Bo Ransdell will be coming together and doing a full retrospective roundtable on the works of the Coen brothers. So that will also be coming up very early June, so a couple of weeks away, and we'll be doing that. So I hope you enjoy it. It'll be a long episode, but hopefully for you film fanatics out there, you're going to enjoy it. Right, let's get out of here and get our first break in. So you're going to hear promos for shows that I love. You're going to hear the trailer for the Boogey Man. When we come back, we're discussing that movie. We're doing it, ladies and gents, right after this.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try...
They must be destroyed on sight!
The new Podcast Cure-All, sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of...
They must be destroyed on sight!
As needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
When you were a child, did they warn you about the Boogey Man? The Boogey Man. He hurt bad children and did terrible things to their mommies. But you can't kill the Boogey Man. Now, the most terrifying nightmare of childhood returns. The Boogey Man. The Boogey Man. He's going to get you. And you. And you.
You're not going to scare me.
Had its own power. The Boogey Man. You can't hide from him. By the time they believe in him, it'll be too late. The Boogey Man, he's going to get you.
And welcome back. So you've just heard the trailer for disc number 10 of the 88 films classics of the slasher series. That's right, slasher classics is what they're calling them. We are, as it stands just now, struggling to find the classics. We're reading between the lines, 88 films. There have been a few in here that I have quite enjoyed. Most of them I haven't, and we're kind of now swinging around to very familiar territory. a lot of these movies thus far are movies that I've just never seen before, mostly because I am aware and had, and as a youth and as an adult, watched the bigger known franchise collections or slasher like solo efforts, but there's a ton out there that I hadn't seen before that, in fairness, this series has been ticking off a lot of those boxes. I can kind of see why I haven't watched them, but we'll give them a bit of cred. They've been digging up some obscure shit, and I knew it would be eventually time to sit down and start going through movies that I had seen. I mean, there are gaps in my knowledge, yeah, but the knowledge gaps are not huge. And of course, we've swung around to a title that I am fairly familiar with, he says with a high-pitched squeaky voice. This is The Boogey Man from 1980. Now, this one is more notable in the UK because of its inclusion on the Video Nasties list. That's right, ladies and gents, this was one of them nasties. As was his sequel, like I mentioned in the intro there. The sequel is a waste of time. Please do not give it any attention. It basically uses 40 minutes of footage from the first movie interspersed through it. Because why shoot new stuff when you can shoot old stuff? I believe there might be a third one as well. I never watched the third one. So, according to the 88 Films blurb on their page, it says, an original UK video nasty, Uli Lomel's creepy classic, The Boogey Man, returns to British shelves in this stunning HD remaster, completely uncut and uncensored. In this 80s slasher sickie, the spirit of a sleazy psychosexual madman is trapped in a mirror during the night of his death. Years later, and this evil entity is freed when the glass is destroyed, allowing our invisible prowler to slice and dice his way through a bevy of helpless teenagers and the family of people who caused his untimely demise. Featuring a cameo appearance from then horror legend John Carradine and an alluring leading lady turned from sexy scream queen Susanna Love, The Boogey Man was a critical and commercial smash hit upon its release in 1980. Now, decades after this sleeper spook show, lots of S's in this one, first to stub censors across the world, The Boogey Man is ready to haunt your living room all over again. Don't say you weren't warned. Special features on the disc are an interview with the director, Uli Lomel himself, a stills gallery, theatrical trailer, TV spots, the usual 88 Films trailer reel, and reverse sleeve with alternate American poster artwork. This one is region unlocked, which meant that you can watch it wherever you are in the world. You can buy yourself some of The Boogey Man. The picture format is HD 1080p 178.1. Audio format is DTS HD ME stereo. Of course, it's English language and has a runtime of about an hour and 25 minutes. Which actually, in watching this last night, felt less. So I can't, the thing about this is I know the bits of the movie. I remember very much the iconic scene from the cover, which you just want the whole movie to be that, and sadly it's not. But I can't really quite remember where I landed with this on the Nasties episode. I can't remember if I loved it. I can't imagine I hated it. I really struggled to think of that, because this finished last night, and I was watching it, I thought to myself, actually, that was pretty good. I don't know if it's because the series has beaten me down, or if I always had that opinion. But for the most part, there's a whole hell of a lot to like about The Boogey Man. Now, I know what you're thinking. Duncan, you done lost your fucking mind. This is what happens. You do so many shows, and you put so much stuff out, that eventually your mind is going to start dribbling out your brain. And this is the movie to cause it. And I would say maybe there's something in that, but I'd also say maybe there isn't. And the reason I'm kind of coming back to that is, for the most part, The Boogey Man gives you what a lot of the movies in the quote-unquote slasher collection thus far have not. Now, it's also worth saying that this movie you would struggle to classify as a slasher, because I don't think slashers technically cover spirits. I might be wrong. People out there might be, well, like, Jason turned out to be a spirit. Right, I see where you're going with that. But in the case of this movie, from the off, this is a spirit. A possessed spirit in a mirror of a slasher killer, who then, escapes and, like, body hops through pieces of mirror. Which sounds weird, but it is. So I don't know if this is technically a slasher. I'll tell you what I do think about it, though, is there's a lot in here to actually kind of put your hat on. Like, you can comfortably get behind a lot of the kills in this movie. For 1980, the special effects are surprisingly good. I mean, you cast your mind back. 1980 is, we are kind of post-Halloween, but we're just really starting our run of the Friday the 13th movies. This predates a ton of the movies that are kind of staples of slasher lore. I'm thinking about things like The Burning, for example. This predates The Burning. And so you get like great kills. This story itself is fucking ridiculous, but for the most part, it exists in a kind of post-Amityville world, and this movie really wants to be the Amityville. It really, really, really does. The house is, Amityville shaped. There are scenes with priests in this movie, which, by the way, Amityville themed. This idea of how the possession kind of attacks, the way the family uncovers it, and how it takes the people, once again, is very Amityville-esque, but it also kind of has that kind of sleazy slasher vibe that you were getting very late 70s. It's got some of the hangovers of the late 70s kind of rolling into it. I mean, the story is exactly as it's described in that blurb, and I can't really lean much more into that. It becomes a bit ludicrous where pieces of the mirror start appearing places, and the idea of the mirror itself, you would just cover it up, wouldn't you? You'd just cover the mirror up, or you'd sell it, or you'd drop it somewhere, or you'd burn it. But in this one, they kind of smash it, not understanding that all the individual pieces of the glass are gateways into which this killer can make his way back through. So the story's a bit ludicrous, and the acting isn't great. It's not terrible, though. I will say that. Susanna Love's actually pretty good in this movie. It's always great to see John Carradine, even if it's for a fleeting second. But the acting is not terrible. It's alright. Special effects are alright. Runtime is the saving grace in this movie. I really think this movie knows exactly what it needs to do. It gets in and gets it done and gets out. It doesn't overstay its welcome at all. You could maybe even chop an extra 5 minutes out and it would have ran just fine. So, I mean, for that part it works. I'll tell you what I love, though, absolutely love, is the Tim Krog score is wicked. It's, synthy and weird and spooky and ooky, and it kind of just, meanders throughout the movie in a way where it just fits the scenes. At times, there are a couple of musical hits where nothing really dramatic's happening, which kind of makes me laugh. But that works as well. So, I'm in a bit of a quandary because, like I said before, very much like Dead of Winter, I don't necessarily think this movie's a slasher. I don't think you can comfortably call it a slasher. Although, if you did, I don't think I would argue with you. It's just my personal opinion on it. It shouldn't have been on the nasties list. I'm sure me and Andy spoke about that back in the day and said it shouldn't have been on the nasties list. It's not a nasty movie. But, that being said, it does its kills well. It does its protracted, weird and obscure little plot well. The score is kind of awesome. It's shot well as well. The cinematography in this one is actually very well done, considering the budget wasn't huge on this one. And yeah, I'd be lying if I said, I'm a bit dumbfounded. I kind of expected to come back to this one and be like, oh, here comes another shitter. And then it finished and I was like, actually, is it wrong? I think the Boogeyman's alright. I think that's a question I'm kind of going to leave you on, is it wrong for me to think that the Boogeyman is actually an alright movie? Is it okay for me to say that I actually really quite liked this movie? Is it acceptable that on disc number 10, I give the Boogeyman a 3.5 out of 5? Does that make sense? Does somewhere between liked it and really like it for the Boogeyman feel right to you guys out there? I don't know. I don't know if just the stars aligned last night. I'd had one too many rum and cokes and things were just starting to get a little bit swifty. Everything I was seeing on the screen started working. Or if it's a culmination of having watched a couple of really bad movies in this collection thus far, that when this one comes on, I'm like, hallelujah. Thank fuck. We've got the Boogeyman on the screen. I don't know. I am perplexed by it, ladies and gents. It has left me a bit speechless. It's left me a bit kind of confused. But at the same time, give me more movies where I am coming in with a 3.5 and above for the Slasher Classics collection, and I will be a happy fucking man. So there you go. Surprise, surprise. I actually quite like the Boogeyman. I don't think Return of the Boogeyman's in the collection. I hope it's not. And if it does, you will see that grade drop pretty fucking quickly, because my long-standing memories of that movie is that it's a waste of time. But yeah, as the Boogey Man goes, surprisingly good. So there we go, 3.5 out of 5. I'm going to take my final break just now when I come back, and I'm closing out the show, and I'm doing it right after this. And you've been listening to the podcast Under the Stairs. This has been our 88 film slasher classics collection. Looking at disc number 10, this week it was The Boogey Man, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, so there we go. Turning our attention to the next one, disc number 11. Now, interestingly enough, disc number 11 now no longer appears on the 88 Films website. I'm not entirely sure why that is. It doesn't appear in our search engines. I have a copy, but you really struggle to find copies of this online now, so I don't know if it's out of print, they've lost rights to distribute or whatnot. But yeah, the next movie we'll be discussing is number 11, and it's Bloodsucking Pharaohs in Pittsburgh from 1991. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to doing it, but like I say, it appears to have just vanished off their page. I'm not entirely sure why, but it kind of does leave me kind of lacking the usual info that I would give you on one of these kind of intro points into it. I would tell you what was next to discuss, etc, etc, but I don't have that. I think it is out of print, because while I was talking there I started googling, and you can get them used for about £15, but to buy them new from distributors on Amazon you're talking about 40 quid, which seems baffling. So there we go. Yeah, Tom Savini apparently did the effects work on it, and that's all the information I can give you on this one. Although, interestingly enough, when you look at this on the page, this is where we get down the kind of down the rabbit's hole with this one. It has spine number 13 on Facebook, well, not on Facebook, on Amazon, so I'm not entirely sure if what has happened is that they've renumbered them in the interim, or what exactly is going on, if I'm honest. But it does not appear in the searches. In fact, rather, Children of the Corn is number 13, as I know it. 13, 14 is Children of the Corn 2, and 15 is Children of the Corn 3. So, yeah. So, number 11, the next one we'll be doing is Bloodsucking Pharaohs in Pittsburgh. That will be disc number 11. It's coming in 2 weeks' time, and yeah, we'll be lacking the usual panache of our little 88 Films blurb and information on that one. Although I will be able to read it from the disc back in 2 weeks' time. So yeah, there we go. There's a multitude of ways to check out podcasts Under the Stairs. As always, I say come across and check us out on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rating and a review. It's the best way to support us on that platform. You can also come across and check us out on Stitcher Smart Radio, SoundCloud, Google Play, TuneIn and Spotify. You can visit our website by going to tputscast.com, and if you want to support the show with some cash and get a poster or a very cool enamel pin, you can do that by going to Big Cartel. It's tputscast.bigcartel.com. You can visit us on Facebook. We have a group page where listeners hang out, chat to each other and comment on all manner of different things and vote on polls. That's facebook.com/groups/tputscast. If alternatively all you're interested in is when the shows are dropping, occasionally checking out a live stream or a Thursday Thursday, then that's the Facebook page, facebook.com/tputscast. If you want to interact with myself and the Baz in the twin prongs of social media sexiness, Instagram and Twitter, both can be followed at tputscast. The podcast Under the Stairs will return tomorrow, where we return to our Choose Your Own Horror podcast review adventure. This week we have your selection of 2016's Pet, and we'll be discussing it tomorrow with more options coming out of where you can take the show next. But until then, wherever you are, whatever the time zone is and whatever you're up to in this big bad world of ours, please take care of yourselves out there. This is Duncan McLeish broadcasting live from Under the Stairs, and I am signing off.